This is Ray from TechKnow2020. Today's tutorial, we're going to talk about how to encrypt important information or private information onto a thumb drive without having to encrypt the entire thumb drive. And this can be handy if you have some important documents, passwords, account numbers, things like that you want to keep private. And if it gets out, at least your risk will be minimized, that it's now encrypted and Apple's encryption. So we're going to show you how to do that basically today. What I have plugged in here is a 32 gigabyte USB 3 drive. It's called my 32 gig Patriot drive. If we double click on the drive, you can see that there's nothing on the drive right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to open basically disk utility and create a new encrypted little volume or drive image on this disk that then will mount and kind of look like its own little thumb drive. You can drag files into it and out of it, or delete files from it, or save files to it. Then when you're done, you eject it just like you eject a thumb drive, which then basically wraps up that disk image in an encrypted format. And if you want to access it again, you double click on it and mount it and type the password to mount it, get access to your files. So we're going to show you how to do that. So we're going to run the disk utility. So mine was run here recently, so it's on the bottom bar. You also can click on applications. You can click on utilities and then go run the disk utility, or of course also find it up from the menu bar. So here's our disk utility. We have our 32 gigabyte Patriot drive, and I am going to make a new encrypted image on it. So I'm going to say File, I'm going to say New, and I'm going to say Blank Image. Now it's going to kind of say, well, hey, where do you want to make this file at? You say, well, I really want to make it on the 32 gig Patriot drive. I could also make it on my desktop or somewhere else, but I just want to start here. I'm going to call this important, private data. So here it says, well, how do you want to create this? So basically, if we can click on what file format we want. So we're just going to have MacOs extended journaled. And it also has a subname of what it's going to be. So I'm just going to say my private info. And now it asks for encryption. So we're going to say, hey, we want to use 128-bit encryption. If you're really paranoid, you can do 256. Like it says, it's more secure but slower. So it says, hey, what do you want the password to be? I'm just going to make this password and just call this test for now. Makes you type it twice. You can also save it to your keychain if you want to. So I choose the word, test for the password. It's going to be a read-write disk image because I want to be able to read to it and write from it and erase things and create things. I go ahead and hit save. It's going to make 100 megabyte. You can make this any size you want, 100 megabyte, a gigabyte, a terabyte. The bigger it is, the longer it takes to make. We'll just stick with 100 megabytes for this one for the example. We hit save, and basically what it does is it starts to create that disk image called important private data, and it's creating it on my thumb drive, and it's also encrypting it with that password I chose. And so because we just created it, it also just mounted it as a drive. See how it says my private info? This is the drive that's the mounted image of my important private data image. So if I click on this and I say, well, let me just eject this for a second just to show you. So if I eject that, it goes away, but I click on my Patriot drive again. Here's my drive image. If I double click on this, or I can right click it and say mount it, it says, hey, what's the password? So I'm going to type in my password. It then mounts it as my private info. Now I want to take, say, I have this document, my sample document here that says important private information. And I got account numbers or insurance policies, and I want to make sure it stays safe. So I'm going to, copy that into this drive image. Important file number 2. I took a screenshot of my last demo. I'm going to take that one as number 3. So now when I eject this sucker, I will have my image file. So I'm going to hit this little eject key right here. Go back to my Patriot drive. Those 3 files are inside this disk image, but I can't see it without double clicking on it and having to type in my password. So we type in the password, and then we find my private data is mounted like a drive. It also showed up on my desktop. And here's my 3 files. I can delete a file, I can say move that file to the trash. I can go in here to one of the files on that drive, and I can, edit the info on the file. Go ahead and hit, save. So now my file's been updated. So now I'm going to hit basically eject my private info again, just to show you what it does. Eject it, and it kind of goes away. It's on my Patriot drive, and now I've got it. So that's how you can encrypt a drive image. This is a 100 megabyte drive image. So if we show you this way, basically shows you it's 100 megabyte, and it's how you can encrypt a volume on a thumb drive or your hard drive or your desktop, that you can keep your private information safe and password protected. Maybe tax returns, things that are sensitive information to you. But that's how you make an encrypted drive image file that you can read and write to on your Mac. All right, take care.